Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the July 12th meeting of the West Perth Council meeting. Before we start our meeting and call it to order, I would like council and staff, if they wish. Oh, we have gotten froze up. We're going to be delayed here a bit. Just a second. Mm-hmm. Yep. It doesn't say that I don't have a connection.
We can hear you, Walter, and see you.
Okay. No, I think we're working here.
We never lost anybody. I don't know about anybody else.
Well, Jeff got kicked off, I think. So anyways, as I was saying, welcome to our July 12th meeting. Before we call the meeting to order, though, I would ask council and staff, we'll have a moment of reflection. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the confirmation of the agenda. Do we have a mover and seconder for that to confirm the agenda as it was circulated out? Councillor Murray and Councillor Marshall, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with the agenda as it is tonight? Councillor Matheson on, I'm looking for the.
Item 11.
Item 11. Motion. Yes, okay, so noted. Very good. Okay, anybody else? All right. The consent agenda, there is 16 items there. Is there anything there that anybody would like pulled or like a better explanation of what's there? A little more detail? I don't see anybody's hands going up. So if that's the case, a motion to accept the consent agenda would be in order. Do you have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Marshall and Councillor Rose. All those in favor of the consent agenda? That is carried. Thank you. Okay, we do have a couple delegations tonight. The first delegation is Sean McCoy and Tyler Sager from County of Perth, and they are going to talk to us about the Perth County Joint Accessibility Plan. And I believe Sean has a presentation. And I'm looking, oh, there they are. They're in the bottom corner there. Very good. How are you guys tonight? Okay. Sean is going to do the speaking, I guess. Are you? Okay.
Thank you, Mayor McKenzie. To you and through you to council, good evening. The report is before you, but I do have a brief slide deck to run through that will cover sort of a high-level overview of the Joint Accessibility Plan 2020 update, as well as a general accessibility activity update. And then following that, Tyler Sager, who's the County Manager, Legislative Services / Clerk, and myself will be available for any questions you may have. If I may, I'm going to share my screen here. Does that come through okay?
Yep, it looks good, Sean. Good.
Thank you, Mayor McKenzie. Okay. So over the last year, Legislative Services Division at the county has taken on the role of providing accessibility services to the county and the 4 lower tier municipalities. And this service includes supporting and developing policies and procedures, helping to ensure our services and facilities are accessible, supporting AODA compliance and training, and acting as a resource for concerns or questions, as well as providing support to the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee, or JAAC. One of our annual tasks is compiling the update for the Joint Accessibility Plan. And the current plan is in effect for 2018 to 2022. And the plan essentially just formalizes Perth County Municipality's commitment to ensuring accessibility by removing barriers and meeting our obligations under the AODA. To ensure the plan's effectiveness, it was developed in consultation with persons with disabilities and with members of the JAAC because their lived experience is really crucial to making sure that our plan is effective. And so this report is essentially just an update of activities that have taken place over the last year, documenting our commitment to our municipal obligations in regards to accessibility. And as you can tell by the date range of the current plan, we'll be focusing efforts toward a new plan in the coming year. So the details of the 2020 accessibility related activities are all included in the report and are categorized by each of the integrated accessibility standards as per the regulation under the AODA. Most, if not all, of the compliance deadlines stated in the regulation have passed. So our accomplishments listed for the county and the lower tier municipalities are by and large just reflective of maintaining the good work we've all already done. So most of what's reported is just related to monitoring and ensuring accessibility is integrated into new projects and initiatives. In terms of goals for this year, the county has accessibility figuring into a number of projects. This includes preparation for an elevator installation at the courthouse, also enhancing access to online services and continuing remote viewing and participation in meetings. And finally, continuing to monitor and improve accessibility integration into the day-to-day operations, such as accessible documents wherever possible. 2020 accomplishments for West Perth. So as for the information supplied from West Perth staff and staff from the 3 other lower tier municipalities, accomplishments and goals had a number of common themes across the county. There was a lot of focus on training, some aspect of improving some infrastructure or facilities, and establishing more online services, or adding efficiencies for creating accessible documents and content, including live streaming of council and committee meetings, which I think we can all agree has improved access to government for our community members. And as you can see here, I've just highlighted a few of the accomplishments from West Perth that basically illustrate these themes. These themes continue for 2021 with numerous facility updates, the Optimist Club Playground, and new municipal administration office. Work is also continuing to ensure documents and web content posted on the municipal website is accessible. And support is also continuing via a memorandum of understanding with Ritz Lutheran Villa to operate an accessible van service. And as stated before, there are several other initiatives planned for 2021 as detailed in the report. And we also wanted to just take this opportunity to highlight some of our accessibility services activities so far this year. As of the 4th quarter of last year, we've implemented quarterly training sessions, and these are supplemental to the mandatory training sessions per the AODA, and they focus on different aspects of the accessibility standards. The main goal of these sessions is to highlight some of the key areas and common threads to ensure we continue to meet our obligations under these standards. And so far, we've conducted sessions on web accessibility, maintaining accessible customer service during COVID, and the accessibility features integrated into the Perth County Connect transit system. We've also been supporting JAAC initiatives, which included hosting a webinar on age-friendly accessibility and a webinar from the Alzheimer's Society. And as always, we've continued to support the JAAC to facilitate site plan reviews and provide clerking services for meetings. And of course, we've also had the opportunity to work with county and lower tier staff on an ad hoc basis as a resource whenever needed. And that is the concludes the presentation here, and the report is before you, but Tyler and I are happy to answer any questions that you may have. And also, if anyone thinks of any questions later, you can contact us at this information here, which I think is also included in the agenda package.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, any questions for Sean or Tyler on accessibility? Councillor Trinkowski?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. Thank you, Sean, for your presentation. I guess the one question I had on page 14 of the report, one of the goals outlined for Municipality of West Perth is to prepare and ensure that the 2022 municipal election is fully accessible to all eligible electors. I'm just wondering if either you or Tyler could elaborate on that, please. What the details or what that sentence means, please.
I can take that one if that's all right. Perfect. So through you, Mayor, to council, we're willing to obviously be here as a support and resource for West Perth. So with your new clerk there, I think we're going to probably sit down and come up with a plan with being able to present accessible ideas and be innovative in presenting to the community ways that they can access voting locations and any other resources in terms of forms and correspondence as well. So it's something that we're definitely looking into, knowing that it is an election year, and anything and everything can come through the JAC with respect to kind of form creation and accessibility.
Okay, thanks, Tyler. Anybody else? Any questions? Councillor Matheson?
Yeah, through you, the Mayor, just was reading through some of the other goals and accomplishments from the other lower tiers, and I just happened to notice one was mentioned about the cloud permit. And when did the West Perth start that? Was that just this year or was that in the 2020?
I'm looking here. I'm not sure. Jeff, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I can take it. I believe we just started cloud permit in the beginning of 2021, so it won't have been in the 2020 report because it won't have been started yet.
Okay.
Anybody else? Questions? Okay, I think we're good. I do have a resolution here. And the recommendation is that the Council of the Municipality of West Perth receives the Joint Accessibility Plan, the Annual Status Update 2020 report, and that the Council of the Municipality of West Perth approves the Joint Accessibility Plan, Annual Status Update 2020, and that staff be directed to post the Joint Accessibility Plan, Annual Status Update 2020 on the West Perth Municipal website. We have a mover and seconder for that? Don't everybody jump at once. Councillor Matheson and Councillor Harold, thank you. Any further questions? All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you. And thank you to Sean and Tyler for delivering that. Very good. Appreciate that. Okay, moving on. We have a report from our planner, Dave Gundrum, and it is with regards to consent to sever by Barbara D Farms Limited on behalf of Elwood Ross Angle. So David, there you are in the corner again. The floor is yours and take it away.
Okay, thank you, Mayor McKenzie. Mayor, members of West Perth Council, good evening. I'm just going to share a screen quickly to help illustrate the concept for this severance as we go along. So I'll just put our report photo up on the screen. So the application before you, application B1821, is an application for severance of an existing farm dwelling, which has been deemed to be a surplus farm dwelling to a consolidating farm operation. Subject property is located at the northern reach of Municipality of West Perth on the south side of Perth Line 55 in the Logan Ward. It's approximately 1 kilometer east of the village of Moncton. The application proposes to sever a lot containing a surplus farm dwelling. The lot would have an area of approximately 0.95 acres and would have approximately 116 feet of frontage along Perth line 55, while retaining a farm lot having an area of approximately 64 3/4 of an acre with approximately 853 feet of broken frontage along Perth line 55. The retained lot consists of farmland and also contains a woodlot located to the southeast portion of the lot shown here. And it also contains a water course being the Logan Maitland Municipal Drain, which runs in a general east-west direction across the property shown here. I will note for council that the barn shown in the 2015 aerial image here is no longer present on the subject property. Only the other structure shown being the house on the within the boundary of the severed lot is certainly still there. So staff have reviewed this application for surplus farm severance with regard to the provincial policy statement and the applicable policies of the County of Perth official plan. We have found that the application is consistent with both the PPS and the County of Perth official plan. And we are recommending the council recommend a County of Perth Land Division Committee that the application be approved, subject to the 10 conditions which are noted in our report. I will also note that in response to our notice of application that was circulated on with the circulation period ending on July 5th, it was circulated on June 21st. We received one piece of correspondence from the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority stating that they had no objection to the application and that it is in general conformance with the natural hazard policies of the provincial policy statement. So that is the balance of the correspondence that we received regarding this application for severance of surplus farm dwelling in the Logan ward. Again, we are recommending approval of the application subject to the 10 conditions noted in our report. And I'm just scrolling through some recent site photos to illustrate current site conditions on the ground and the dwelling on the property. As noted, the barn would have been pictured here behind the home, but it has since been removed since 2015. So I'll stop sharing screen at this point and turn it back over to the mayor and council and for any questions or for discussion on our report and this application. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, David. Any questions for David on with regards to this proposed severance? Councillor Tam?
Just a question on the timing for clarity, David. So for when someone's acquiring a farm like this, they can start this process on their behalf with their consent, and it all falls within the 1 year timeline and comes together. Is that correct?
Through the chair, Councillor Tam, a very good question. So this is a case where there is a consolidation which is proposed to occur. I will note, connected to that, condition number 5 of our recommended conditions requires that an undertaking be received by a solicitor to compel that the retained farm lot be sold to the proposed buyer in this case, which is Barbie D Farms Limited. The property is not currently owned by them, but a lot of our surplus farm severances are approached this way, where it's a proposed consolidation, not one that's already occurred. And the 12-month limitation period on satisfying conditions is generally never an issue, never a problem for the applicants to achieve their aims and complete their severance within that 1 year period. So I hope that it helps answer the question, Councillor Tam.
Yep, 100%. Thank you.
Okay, other questions? Okay, not seeing any. We do have a recommendation here. And the recommendation is that the Council of the Municipality of West Perth receives a report entitled Application for Consent to Sever excuse me, number B1821 by Barbara D Farms Limited, care of Jeff Layton, on behalf of Elwood Ross Engel, affecting lands described as part of Lot 8, Concession 16 of the Logan Ward, Municipality of West Perth, 5703 Perth Line 55, dated July the 12th, 2021, prepared by the County Planner for information, and that Council recommends that the County of Perth Land Division Committee approve the application for consent to sever B 1821 for lands described as part of Lot 8, Concession 16, Logan Ward, Municipality of West Perth, 5703, Perth Line 55, subject to the following 10 conditions. And we've had this all weekend. Is it your wish that I can forgo reading the 10 conditions, or would you like me to read them? We can forgo that, thank you. So the 10 conditions are listed there. So do we have a mover and seconder for that recommendation? Councillor Trinkowski and Councillor Harold. Any further discussion or questions with regards to this recommendation? Okay, ready for the vote? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. All right, we have one more planning matter to deal with, and it is a site plan approval. And I believe, David, you're going to walk us through this one as well. So I'll turn the floor over to you again.
Hey, thank you, Mayor McKenzie. I'm just going to share screen here quickly. I do notice that our report in the agenda did not contain the images that are described in the report. So I'm just going to share screen to off the agenda to the report that had those schedules included, just for council's reference and information. So I'll just share right now. So what's up in front of your screen right now is a copy of the reference plan that concerns the lots that are connected to the proposed site plan agreement. So this application has been submitted on behalf of Truebuilt Construction Inc. by Zelinka Priamo Limited. They're essentially lands which were subject to a series of consent applications in 2019, 5 consent applications to be precise, which are noted in our report, which created a series of lots along Wimple Street, so in the western part of the town of Mitchell. So the owners are proposing to construct a total of 26 two-story townhouse dwelling units on the subject lands. Parts number 4 through to 8 would each contain a single structure having 4 townhouse units for a total of 20 units across those parcels. Parts 2 and 3 of the plan to the south of the frontage along Wimple Street would each contain a single structure having a 3-unit townhouse dwelling. So the site plan agreement would concern parts 2 through to 8 and what would concern matters related to matters that are dealt with under site plan agreement for this development. So the subject lands are currently within the serviced urban area designation of the County of Perth official plan, and are within the Mitchell Ward official plan, or designated residential within the Mitchell Ward official plan. I will note for council that there was also a zoning bylaw amendment passed in 2019, which rezoned the subject lands and placed them in the Mitchell Residential High Density Zone 4, so the R4 zone, with a site-specific provision to permit the intended townhouse dwelling units subject to a set of site-specific requirements, mainly a series of yard requirements. So those are the subject lands that this site plan agreement would pertain to. The West Perth Public Works, Building Department, Fire Department, as well as County Planning and the Perth County Accessibility Committee have all reviewed the site plan drawings and materials and consider them to be satisfactory with respect to the requirements to recommend to council that West Perth enter into a site plan agreement. So staff are recommending approval of this application for site plan agreement and that the proposed development meets the requirements of the commenting authorities that have jurisdiction and represents good planning. And so to summarize, we are recommending that that West Perth Council adopt the proposed bylaw that would authorize the mayor and the clerk to enter into the site plan agreement and have it registered on title of the subject lands, and those lands being parts 2 through to 8, inclusive of the reference plan that's shown before you on the screen. So I'll stop share at this point, and I'll turn it back over to the mayor and council for any questions on this proposed site plan agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Questions with regards to the site plan agreement that David has gone through? No questions? Okay, if there are no questions at this time, the recommendation is that the site plan application and plans, materials, and drawings proposed for the development on the subject lands, being 7 separate legally conveyable parcels of land and collectively described as lots 2 and 3 and part of lots 4 to 10, Plan 477 of the Mitchell Ward being parts 2 to 8 on 44R 5827, Municipality of West Perth, be approved, and that council proceed with the adoption of a bylaw authorizing the mayor and the clerk to enter into a site plan agreement and have it registered on title of the subject lands. Do we have a mover and seconder for that motion? Councillor Murray and Councillor Marshall, thank you. Any further discussion with regards to this recommendation? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Very good. And thank you very much, David.
Thank you, Council.
All right, get into various reports here. And the first one up is our head librarian, Rosemary. Looking, I know she was on. She's there.
I am.
Very
For some
good.
reason,
You got no, we can't see you, but we can hear you.
my face is not up.
There you go. There you
Voila,
go.
there we go. Good evening, Your Worship, members of council. The library board members met on June 22nd, and I believe you have their meeting minutes in front of you along with the statistics report. In that meeting, they discussed advocacy opportunities and different ways that we can promote library programs and services in the community. This is in part to fulfill some of the strategic priorities of the library and of the municipality in terms of community collaborations. And we certainly hope that when pandemic restrictions are completely lifted, that we'll be able to pursue those in earnest and support the 21st century literacies that the library supports through its programs and services. We also discussed steps 1, 2, and 3 of the Reopening Ontario plan and how the library, how this affects the library and what the library is able to offer in steps 1, 2, and 3. So we're in step 2 now, going into step 3, and the library is very happy to be able to welcome people in person into the building once again with capacity restrictions, but those will increase on Friday as well. And in fact, the library, West Perth Public Library is the only library in Perth County that is going to be offering in-person programs this summer. We started last week and we're offering the summer reading program activities and story times and that sort of thing for children and their caregivers in Lions Park. So that was an enormous success last week. A lot of people approached our summer reading club coordinator. She is being paid through the Young Canada Works grant. She's a third-year university student at Guelph, and she was approached by many caregivers last week, just thrilled that they are able to interact with other children and that their kids are able to play outside again. So that was lovely. During the board meeting, we also discussed 3 library policies: borrowing library materials, children in the library, and teens in the library. And this is an ongoing, just an ongoing policy review. And most of the library policies are based on provincial and or federal legislation. Finally, we did have one of our board members submit her resignation. Unfortunately, this was one of our newer board members who started at the beginning of this year. As of the end of this month, she'll be moving out of Perth County. Actually out of West Perth. I don't know if she's moving out of the county completely, but the Public Libraries Act does indicate that board members need to reside in the community they serve. So unfortunately, we do have to say goodbye to her, but we do wish her well, and we were happy to have her for the time that we did. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have on the minutes.
Okay, thank you, Rosemary. Any questions for Rosemary on the library board? Okay, seeing nobody's hand up here, the recommendation that I have here is that the Council Municipality of West Perth receives the report from the West Perth Public Library meeting held on June the 22nd for information. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Murray and Councillor Tam. All those in favor of that motion? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you, Rosemary. Very
Thank
good.
you.
Okay, the next report then is from our treasurer, and I'll just turn it over to Wendy. She's there with her smiling face, and she can just go right through it. So, Wendy, the floor is yours.
Well, thanks, Mayor McKenzie, and good evening, council members. So before you should have a report that lays out 50% of our budget that we're at so far, and we look like we're in a good position. So I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. Anybody have any questions for Wendy with regards to that report? It must be a good report. No questions. Okay, have a motion here that Municipality of West Perth receives the West Perth Consolidated Financial Statement Report as of June the 30th for information. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Rose and Councillor Bell. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you. Very good. Thanks, Wendy. All right, we're moving on here. We do have some parking bylaw amendments, and our fearless clerk is going to go through them. So Dan, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good afternoon, members of council. So hopefully I don't lose anyone tonight with this one, but a bit of a two-parter. So the first part you'll see attached to the package is basically our parking bylaw as it sits today, but redlined with a bunch of edits. So these edits today are being brought forward for council and the public's information. We're not looking for any changes or any decisions of council on what we're presenting today. Our plan moving forward is to put this out there, put a survey up on the website so we can gather feedback and then report back to council in August about what we've heard from the public and perhaps council as well during that time. And then we can bring council a full report and provide a succinct recommendation on what we've heard and what we think the best action would be moving forward. That being said, we are looking to get a bylaw passed later tonight that would bring 2 changes forward to the bylaw as it sits today. Those changes are also noted in the red line version, but they're to create the EV or electric vehicle parking stalls downtown. And along with, we're looking to just add a fine in for parking in the wrong direction. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them about any part of what we presented today, either the amending bylaw or the proposed changes.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Any questions for Dan on that? Okay, I don't see anybody's hands coming up. So the recommendation is that the Council Municipality of West Perth accepts the report on the parking bylaw amendments as information. Have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Murray and Councillor Bell. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. All right, Dan, next one is with regards to just a slight change in West Perth Council meetings.
Yes, thank you again, Your Worship. So this one again is just we're looking at amending the schedule for July, bringing forward a meeting next Monday on the 19th. Unfortunately, this is to work around a schedule change through the new municipal office tender documents.
All right, and again, I'll ask, is there any questions for Dan with regards to the purpose of that? Okay, seeing none, the motion is that West Perth approves the 2021 West Perth Council meeting schedule as amended. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Ait and Councillor Marshall. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you. Okay, Moving on then, next item belongs to the CAO, and I think he's maybe just going to introduce Trish and then take it from there. So Jeff, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, everyone. So I'd just like to introduce Trish McNaughton, who is the BIA coordinator. And we don't very often get to see from Trish because we see the BIA minutes, but we don't see Trish. So we're going to have Trish present this report on behalf of Chair of the BIA and the BIA.
Perfect. Thank you for having me tonight. So our report was submitted over the weekend, and I'd just like to note that we're not asking for municipal support. Just to confirm, this is a project we would like to pursue. We have submitted an application for a Shop Local grant through the Stratford Chamber of Commerce that would cover the cost of the wraps plus the design fee. If the grant is unsuccessful, we could look into using some of the Main Street grant money that the municipality had. If you have any other questions, I'm prepared to answer them.
Okay, any questions for Trish on this? So the lifespan of these, I'm going to call them banners, but wraps, I guess is what you say.
Yep.
They're good for a number of years, I take it?
Yes, so they'll last anywhere from 6 to 8 years, depending on the maintenance. And so the recommended maintenance is just to wash them down once or twice a year with soap and water, and they're weather resistant, anti-stick, and anti-graffiti. So good lifespan on them.
Good, okay, thank you. All right, any further questions for Trish? Okay, seeing none, the recommendation is that the Municipality of West Perth support the proposal by the Mitchell BIA to install the decorative Bella wraps on the light standards in downtown Mitchell. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Rose and Councillor Chinkowski. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
good. It wasn't so bad, now was it, Trish?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, the next one is an item by Jeff to close portions of a public highway. So, Jeff?
Good evening again. So the report was provided with the council package. This is a case where we're at a very high level. I would summarize it by saying we're putting the 1 foot reserves on and closing this 1 foot portion of the public highway in order to preserve our ability to recover our costs and help to manage the financing of a new road by the developers. This type of approach is used to ensure that the benefiters pay their beneficiary share and sort of don't wait for each other to do the development and get the benefit that way. The municipality will front end the portion that's unconstructed, and we anticipate in this case that the development on the west will come on in very short order after the development on the east side of Wimple Street. So this is really just a way to facilitate the orderly development of the area and to get the road built and to put this much needed log stock on the market. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any, and the recommendation is in the report.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Any questions for Jeff on with regards to that report? Deputy Mayor Ait?
Jeff, I understand the red, the blue, and the yellow, but can you just, because there's no marking on here about what the colors are. The green at the road, like there's no corresponding color-coded thing on here like Severance not. The green one at the road, is that because he's only starting on lot 3?
No, actually, yeah, it's a fair question. Apologize. We wanted to sort of highlight those. So part 6 is the green one at the road, and that one is to our development approvals will prohibit any direct access to Huron Street that close to the intersection. That lot should be accessed from Wimple, but we put the 1 foot reserve on. We wouldn't normally put them on, but we had the opportunity because we were already doing the surveying, and we just wanted to make sure that there was no confusion about that road needing to access Wimple, the newly built Wimple. So that's why we put that 1 foot there. And so the part 3 and part 4 are the 2 pieces on the west side. And all of part 3 and some of part 4 will get us the ability to recover the cost for the new build, the entirely new build, the rest of Part 4, which is north of Park Lane, and all of Part 5 will allow us to recover the costs for upgrades of the section of Wimple Street between Park Lane and William Street, which is only built to the rural cross section now and will have to be upgraded to the urban cross section by whichever the first developer that comes ahead is. And so we're putting it on both sides because we don't want to presuppose who would be first, but whoever's first would do the road upgrades, and then we would lift that 1 foot, and then we would recover from the opposite side of the road when the project goes ahead on their side.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Rose.
Is there a time limit or anything for the west side to start the project? Is there a time limit?
Yep. Okay, Councillor Rose, I can answer that question. So we haven't put a time limit on them. We have the one other case we've used this. We expect the development could be 5 or 10 years away, and I don't consider that to be ideal. But the alternative of having the development not occur because there's no prospects of a cost sharing agreement is a lesser. Is a less desirable outcome. In this case, we don't put a time limit on it. We don't have the ability to put a time limit on. We do control the access, and we have done some preliminary work with both owners on the west. Enough work, in fact, to identify the logical location of services, which estimate the likely services that would go on the lots in the future. So we've asked those landowners to consider how they might develop the area, and those services will be installed as a part of the road construction, so we don't have to tear up a newly built road. And with that in mind, I would think that the opportunity for development, as soon as it presents itself, it'll be taken by those owners on the west side.
Okay, any other questions with regards to that? Okay, seeing none, the recommendation that we have here is that the Council of Municipality of West Perth receives the bylaw to close portions of public highway report for information. A mover and seconder for that, Councillor Vink and Councillor Rose. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you.
I should just mention, Mayor McKenzie, that the report was received for information because there's no action on the report, but there is a bylaw located in the bylaw section of the report, which will enact the decision that we need. So when Mayor McKenzie introduces the bylaws later in the meeting, you'll see the bylaw.
Okay, thank you. Very good. All right, moving on, we have one item under correspondence, and I'm not sure who I throw under the bus on this one. I assume, is it maybe Dan? Councillor Bell certainly is a member of the Agricultural Society. Dan?
I think between Dan and I, we can cover it. So Dan, do you want to cover it, or do you want me to?
No, I can do it. Thank you, Your Worship. So we received correspondence from the Mitchell District Agricultural Society requesting $2,500 in support this year. It's been an annual request to council, as you'll see in the letter, and the normal amount requested is $2,000. Because of COVID and lack of funding opportunities through that, that's why they've upped their request this year.
Okay. Did we fund last year?
Yes.
With the grant, so they got $2,000 last year.
No, we didn't. So I can, yeah, I can answer that. We had it budgeted for last year, but we didn't actually receive a grant request, so there was no grant money transferred to the Agriculture Society, I don't believe.
It's because of that disconnect between asking for the letter.
Yeah, I don't believe we funded the Ag Society last year. We can confirm it, but I don't believe. So in any event, we did include money in the budget under community grants for 2021, and we have community grant money in. We were anticipating they would come back and ask, and I see Wendy has lit up her screen, so
Sure.
she could perhaps indicate if we covered that grant for the Ag Society last year. I don't recall.
I'll have to look it up. Unfortunately, I don't know, but definitely I can look into it.
Okay.
Did they indicate, Dan, that they suggested that we paid it last year? Or you're not sure?
No, I'm not. They indicated that the request is higher from their previous request. So smart.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that their request in 2019 was 2,000, and their request number of years before that was $2,000. And I believe they did not request any in 2020. And in 2021, we had carried forward that money in the community grants portion of the budget. So if council chose to fund this request, we do have finances in the community grants portion of the budget to cover this request.
Okay. What I'll do here is I'll read the motion and then we can open it up for discussion. So the motion is that Municipality of West Perth donates the amount of $2,500 to the Mitchell District Agricultural Society towards the 2021 Mitchell Fall Fair. Get a mover and seconder for that, and then Councillor Tinkowski and Councillor Marshall, and then we'll open it up for discussion. So any discussion on this particular motion at all? Okay, I guess normally we get these requests at budget time, you know, for grants and stuff that that are going on, and I realize this is kind of a unique situation, but you know, possibly and probably maybe in the future we can get back to doing it at the time that we do our budget and carry on from there.
Yeah, I'll just mention we do plan to, we had our previous clerk and our previous treasurer had a bit of a plan together about how to retool our community grant process and to build it into the budget process. And of course, that was February and into March of 2020. 2020 got set aside due to COVID. In 2021, we went ahead and approved the budget, knowing the uncertainties that we have, and we also had vacancies in the position. So we would anticipate getting this back onto the work plan to look at how we handle community grants up front, the approvals that we anticipate doing year over year because we regularly receive them. And council will remember that we have some work to do to take some of these support items that the council provides that are called grants that are really not necessarily grants. And so we have to just disentangle that. So what we did is we brought the money forward in the budget process to cover as if it was a normal year based on 2019 with a little bit of growth in that. And that's why we can cover this slightly larger request. And we will go back to work on how we handle community grants. And Dan and Wendy can, that's going to be something on both of their lists.
Okay, any other questions or comments? It's been duly moved and seconded. So all those in favor of this particular motion? Anybody opposed? That is carried. Thank you. All right, moving down to council reports, and the first item is the Mitchell Business Improvement Area, the minutes from June the 2nd. And I'm not sure, is Trish doing this one or Sherry? Sherry's going to do this one. Good, okay. Take her away, Sherry.
No, actually the report's written very well. Thank you, Trish. And it's pretty self-explanatory. If anyone has any questions on anything in the report, we're happy to answer them.
Any questions for Sherry on that? Okay, moving on then. Upper Thames Conservation Authority, the Finance and Audit Committee, the draft minutes from June the 22nd. Anna Marie?
No, there's nothing to add. It was a closed session meeting.
Okay, all right. Okay, that is all I have for committee reports. So the motion is that the Council Municipality of West Perth accepts the reports from staff and councillors as presented, and further that all committee minutes and correspondence not specifically dealt with by resolution be received and filed. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Marshall and Councillor Bell. Okay, all those in favor of that motion? That is carried. Thank you. All right, we do have a number of bylaws. We have 3 as a matter of fact. Bylaw 52 is a bylaw to regulate parking or stopping of vehicles on highways within the municipality of West Perth. Bylaw 53 is a bylaw to authorize the execution of a site plan agreement between the municipality of West Perth and True Built Construction. And bylaw 54 is a bylaw to stop up and close a portion of public highway of Wimple Street on plan 339 between William Street and Huron Street, being part 3, part 4, and part 5 on reference plan 44R 5836, and to stop up and close a portion of public highway of Huron Road, plan 339, Mitchell being Huron Road between Wimple Street and Napier Street, West Perth, being part 6 on reference plan 44R 5836. Do we have any questions on any of those bylaws? Okay, seeing none, the recommendation is that the municipality of West Perth gives first, second, and third and final reading to bylaws 52, 53, and 54 this 12th day of July. We have a mover and seconder for those bylaws. Councillor Rose and Councillor Vink, thank you. Any questions? Last chance. Okay, all those in favor of the 3 readings? Anybody opposed? That is carried. Thank you. All right, moving on then, upcoming events are there. The office, municipal office tender is a public opening on July the 14th. And I believe it's going to happen at the fire hall, is it, Jeff?
Yes, that's a good, thanks, Mayor McKenzie. It's going to mention, if any councillors would like to come and observe the tender opening, we're going to open the doors on the old fire hall. And that'll just allow us to manage the numbers. So don't feel that you can't attend because of numbers, because we'll be able to do it with people being on the outside, and we'll use the sound system to project the tender numbers as we open them. So if you want to attend that day, just park in the area of the fire hall, the old fire hall.
And this is because it is a public opening of tenders, so this one will be on Zoom as well.
Yeah, it's a great question. And Councillor Trankowski is going to have a question as well. So we'll live broadcast to YouTube, to the YouTube channel, and we'll do that. We anticipate the tender opening will be at approximately 2:05. The tenders close at 2, and until we can get moved over from where we receive the tenders to the other side, get the sound system set up and start opening. And council can, and any member of the public can watch it on YouTube, or they can come and participate if they wish.
Okay, and Councillor Trankowski, you have a question?
Well, thanks, Your Worship. Jeff answered my question. Tenders close at 2, and the tender opening is shortly thereafter.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Good. Anybody else have any questions with regards to that? All right. Okay. Notice of motion. Received several calls. Oh, sorry. Oh, yes. And Councillor Matheson had indicated that she had a conflict of interest with this item, number 11. And she has checked out. Okay. With regards to this this notice of motion, we've received several comments, I guess, and I guess you could call them complaints about service that that we are receiving currently at the post office in Mitchell. And it's strictly Mitchell that we're talking about here in West Perth. Dublin post office seems to be carrying on as usual, but there seems to be a lot of disgruntled ratepayers with regards to the service that is happening within the post office in Mitchell. And I guess what I would like to bounce off you is to get permission that we maybe send a letter to the Canada Post expressing our concerns on behalf of the residents of West Perth. It's kind of an area that we don't usually get into. It's another kind of another bailiwick, but I've received enough comments that the people are concerned about it. And it's very frustrating the hours that it's open or not open. And for people that work to pick up letters, check mail, or even get parcels. So what I'm looking for is your support to do that. And I will move that if so wish. We would need a seconder, and then we can have a discussion on it if you wish. Councillor Tam, you going to second that? Okay. Now I'll open it up for discussion if anybody wants to add anything further to that. Deputy Mayor Wright?
I would also like it sent to John Nader because it is a federally run. And I'd love it if you would post the complaint number in the Mitchell Advocate so that everybody knows who to phone. But John Nader, I think, just should be added to it also.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, good point. And I had that in mind. I guess it didn't get expressed into the motion, but yeah, it should be a copy to John Nader. Anybody else? Any other further comments with regards to this? Am I the only one that's getting complaints or had complaints? No. Okay. Everybody's nodding their head. Yeah, it's something that I wouldn't normally do. You know, we're kind of infringing on another territory here, but I think there's enough concern with regards to this service that it's something that we probably should do. Okay, it's been duly moved and seconded. Councillor Marshall, question?
Just a comment. If we're also sending it to John, the MP, John Nader, we should also probably send it to the minister responsible for the Crown Corporation. If we're gonna do the government, then we should actually send it to the government also.
Right.
Just a thought.
Okay. Yep. And probably Mr. Nader's office can give us some suggestions as to who we need to send this to, I guess. But kind of leave that for Jeff or Dan to look into. Anybody else? Dean, do you have a question? Oh, okay. Any other questions with regards to this? Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of this motion or this action? Anybody opposed? Okay, so that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Now, do we have to text Cheryl to get her back? Oh, there she is. Very good. Okay. Any other business at this time? Okay. We do have a closed session, and we will proceed. So the Council of Municipality of West Perth will proceed in a closed session at 8 o'clock for the purpose of addressing a trade seeker or scientific, technical, commercial, or financial information that belongs to the municipality or local board and has monetary value or potential monetary value. So we have a mover and a seconder to go into a closed session. Councillor Rose and a seconder, Councillor Murray. All those in favor? Opposed? If any, that's carried. So we'll take a few minutes here to go offline, and we'll go into closed session. Okay, we're back into open council again, and there was nothing coming out of closed session that we had to bring into the open session. And I'm going to throw all my staff under the bus on this one. I should have maybe brought this up under other business, but it's just a question, I think, to council, and maybe Doug can elaborate a little bit more if we need it. But it came up at the last county council session. And there's a report going to come back, and the request came from Perth East, and Doug, you'll know where I'm going on this one, that when we do an official plan amendment, a county official plan amendment, the request was that we do it at the county as opposed to the lower tier. And I know we have discussed this previously, and I just wanted to double check if everybody was still on the same page with this, so that when it does come back up in, I believe, August, that I can speak for our council. And I think our feeling was at that particular time that the OPAs for the county be dealt with at the county, as opposed to at the lower tier. And the reasoning kind of behind that is, example, when we do a meeting here, it's basically Doug and I, but there's 8 more people that make that final decision on that official plan amendment. So that's kind of the feeling that maybe these should be done at the county. I throw it open if there's any discussion on that, how you would like that handled, if you agree with that, or if you still want to have them done locally. Any comments from anybody? Dean?
I guess I don't, Your Worship, I don't quite understand what, maybe just give us an example, or I guess I'm not quite clear what.
Well, usually we do an official plan amendment. Yeah, Jeff, do you want to give me an example? I'm trying to think from our last meeting. We do have them every once in a while.
I can give you an example, and you might recall we had a situation where one of our counselors, one of our county counselors, Council Light, was unable to attend, and we had a county counselor from another municipality attend. That was a while ago. If you'll remember that Rhonda Eggetts attended, and the situation is that the county councilors are the only ones that have the authority to vote, but we're having these meetings out in the local municipalities to make them more accessible. So, and it creates that situation where there's only 2 participating. The public meeting is held at the local municipal council chambers, I think, for accessibility and good governance, but it's a bit confusing for everybody because the other county councilors aren't in attendance. And the only other commentary I would offer on this that councilors can consider is that there are options. I mean, perhaps county council meets during the daytime, and that's, I think, one of the barriers for participation for residents, and one of the reasons that they wanted to come out and have them in local municipalities. But there's nothing in any legislative tool that says county councils couldn't meet in the evening. And I think that's perhaps a highly provocative statement, but if that's one of the things that's trying to be addressed, that would be an option that county could consider. And I think North Perth's objection has always been the distance for the residents to travel. Yeah.
The other item that came up, and this is very pertinent now since COVID and since we've been doing it, certainly we can open it up for access to the public by Zoom. And, you know, you wouldn't necessarily have to travel from Listowel to Stratford per se, or from Mitchell to Stratford even, if it was still a daytime meeting. But Jeff has kind of hit the nail on the head there. Nicholas?
I think if I remember correctly, some of the comments we made last time was, it's fine when the issue isn't contentious, but as soon as the issue is contentious and it's only you and Doug that get to hear those issues and the concerns from the public, you have to then somehow, or the rest of the county council has to hear that information. And why not get them that information themselves when it's a contentious issue?
That's correct, Nicholas. It's just that, as Jeff has indicated, you know, the 10 people making the decision are in Stratford, and you know, if it's a West Perth issue, when we have them here, there's only 2 of us, and we have to take that back to the other 8. So I don't have to hold you to it, but I just wanted to bounce it off you and see what your feelings were. I believe the last time that we did talk about it, that we said that we preferred it, you know, that an OPA should probably be at the county. And was that not right? I'm trying not
So you
to
just
pull
froze
anything out of
there.
doing. Am I froze?
You were for a second. You're back.
Oh, I'm
You're
sorry.
back.
We're not trying to, you know, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth or pull anything out of the air, but I just kind of wanted to bring it up so that we knew what was coming and that I could speak on behalf of West Perth when it does come up at the county. So, and Doug can hear it as well and speak as well. So, am I reading that is kind of what your wishes are, Anne Marie?
Yes, I'm very comfortable with you recommending that it go back in front of the whole county council
Right.
as
Okay.
opposed to just two.
Okay. Any other comments? I'm not trying to shove this under the rug or anything. Councillor Matheson?
Yeah, I agree with that too, because I think you lose a lot of the comments made by the public if there is an issue, and the opportunity for the other councillors, 8 councillors, to ask questions to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's taken away.
Right.
If it's back in front of the county council, gives them that opportunity.
Very good. Thanks, Cheryl. Mike, did you have your hand up? Oh, you were just stretching? You're scratching, were you? Anybody else? Did you have a comment, Doug, or anything?
No, no.
That kind of sums up what the discussion was, though, doesn't it? Eh?
Yep.
Okay, we'll leave it at that, and I just I feel better having talked to you about what is coming downstream, so that we're not kind of caught off guard. If there's nothing else, motion here then that bylaw 55, 2021, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of West Perth, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed, and that the bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Tam and Councillor Rose. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. And finally, motion that the Municipality of West Perth adjourn the council meeting at 8:21. Mover and seconder, Councillor Trinkowski and Councillor Bell. All those in favor? Thank you. We're adjourned. Very good.